through something several years ago that literally almost killed me. And through that, a small group in a small church that I had attended in Jacksonville, Florida, those people, God used them to essentially save my life. And if it wasn't for them, I just simply wouldn't be here. And it's not the people. It has nothing to do with the people. All we are is boxes filled with the Holy Spirit, filled with God. And it's just what we choose to do. So if you have the opportunity to help someone and you don't do it, then you get skipped. So all it is that God is going to find you when He's looking for you, like He found me. If it wouldn't have been those people, it would have been somebody else. And so I just yearn to have a powerful relationship with Jesus so that when I see certain opportunities, that I'm not skipped. I don't ever want to be skipped. I want to make my dad, my daddy, my Father in heaven proud, okay? So, I've got a lot of mentors in my life, guys that I just love, that feed into me, and I'm a sponge. I eat it up, and I just love every second of it. And some of them, are saying, oh man, there's just so much terrible stuff going on in the world. There's no question the abortion thing is absolutely horrific, okay? That's absolutely terrible, and that's true. But that's if you constantly focus on the news. What about if I was a news anchor and I was following you around? What would be the news I would be able to display on TV from your surroundings, from your environment? Are you seeing lives changed in your environment? That's the big question. Yes, I agree. The news is terrible. There's a lot of bad stuff going on. But what is going on in your sphere of influence? Like Drew was saying the other day, he puts little sticky notes on his technicians' bills when they bill out contractors. And then he just great job. I'm so proud that you work here and you represent our company like that. And he opened up their locker and he had just stacks of sticky notes. Those are the things that matter that we want to make sure that we're doing in our sphere of influence. And so I love my family. I love my parents. I kind of feel like my dad worshiped work sometimes. Nothing was ever, we could never have anything without work. Never have anything. And so I didn't really understand that. I didn't really get why that was wrong until I began my relationship with Jesus. And we can never feel like we can do it without God. It's okay when you're successful. That's incredible. You're blessed. That's amazing. But never get haughty to the point where you're like, you know what? I don't need God for this. Who gave you the air in your lungs to be able to do it? I created this. Who gave that to you? So I get it, but it's just so important to remember that. And with my kids, so I read a book recently called Man in the Mirror. Some of you may have heard of that. And it's just a life-changing book. And the author is telling a story about three dads and their 5-year-old kids, or maybe they're 5, 7, 8, something like that. And they're going into Alaska, and they're taking their kids fishing. So they're in an airplane boat, and you know how they've got the pontoon rotors and whatnot. So they come down, they're coming down to the water, and one of the pontoons hits a log in the water. And so the boat begins to sink. And the first two dads, they grab their kids and they're able to swim to shore. And the third one,
taking care of Ellie.
he says, I can rescue myself and get to shore, or I can stay out in the water and die with my son. Well, he stayed out there and he died with his son. So the point of the story is, we'll all die for our families. There's no question. That's our job, right? But will we live for them?
I don't know.
You got to live for your family. And trust me, I struggle with it. I struggle with it all the time. My wife is constantly saying, look, you got to put your phone down. You're obsessed with that thing. All this pressure, and this new job that I'm in, covering the South U.S. versus a couple of states. And I have to be very diligent about saying, son, I love you. It's such a big deal. And my dad did an incredible job versus the way his dad treated him. 180 degrees. But I only heard I love you and I'm proud of you like twice. And that's when he saw me speaking at an event, kind of like this. And so it's not that he doesn't love me. Of course he loves me. He just never told me. And so I want to be very diligent about telling my son that I love him and I'm proud of him. And another story in this book, so they were in a small group at church. And so it's similar guys, business owners, whatever they were doing. And so they go to a park and they're having a great time. Kids are playing on the playground. The leader of the group is taking pictures of the family. I mean, it's beautiful. And the next time, keep in mind, they're all workaholics. And the next time they meet, they're all in a room and they're playing on the screen the clips of all the kids playing, and the dads throwing their kids up in the air or their friends' kids up in the air. And it's just such a beautiful thing. And in the background, they're playing that song, Cats in the Cradle with a Silver Spoon. So if you're familiar with that song, it's about a dad that just was never around because he was working so much. And the author of that book, Man in the Mirror, it didn't specifically say it, but I believe that the reason he wrote the book is because he regretted not being there for his kids. And so he's trying to show everybody else wisdom. And so two things I'm passionate about. Number one is calling godly men to be powerful warriors for Jesus. And number two is decreasing the divorce rate. And so what I mean by calling godly men to be powerful warriors is that we're not called to be wimps to sit on the sidelines. We're called to be powerful men to lead our families. When God talks about in Genesis, when he's talking about the devil, he's going to be on the belly. Yeah, he's going to bruise your heel. But my creation is going to stomp on his head. This is not a joke. This is a big deal. With all this crazy stuff, we got to have power in our influences. And I've seen two amazing things just recently. A man, they were about to get a divorce, and he walked into it was just a small group through church, nothing. We go to somebody's house and eat. But he walked in there, and he said, I'm glad, I'm here. I'm glad I'm here. But I just have a major problem with God. I was like, wow, thank you for sharing that, man. That's huge. So he walked in there being angry with God. And because of strong, powerful men putting their hands on him and laying their hands on him, he left out of there bawling like a baby. Life changed. Just powerful. This was just a week ago. Just powerful things. And so the other thing with marriage. So Courtney is my wife. And the fact that I'm even married to her, trust me, I can't believe it either, okay? I'm in shock. She used to be a country music singer. She's written a book. All I remember is that I was on the side of my bed praying, and I was like, God, if I were able to have a woman like that, oh my word, the things that we're going to do and tell people about you. And he granted that for me. I prayed for this job for 6 months. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my now boss calls me up and says, your name popped up on my phone from some networking thing. So I believe that when we're humble and contrite and cry out to God in private, that he definitely hears and he answers our prayers. And I am living proof of that. So when I talk about guardrails in our marriage, so for example, if Associated has a female working for them that my job is technically maybe to go with them to see a contract or whatnot. I will not ride in the car with just me and another woman, period. I will not go to lunch with just myself and another woman. Our Facebook, our social media, we will not, number one, our Facebooks are the same. Doesn't matter if you have them separate, whatever. I'm just saying, for us, our Facebooks are the same, and then we will not be friends with anybody that one of us had an minimum of an emotional relationship with in the past. So we just have very strong guardrails, and it creates an upward spiral to God instead of a downward spiral where it's eventually going to fail. And the last thing I want to part with this morning is, there's a gentleman by the name of Todd White, and he's just a powerful evangelist. The guy will go up into a mosque and start converting people to Christianity. And, I yearn to be that bold. And I yearn to make our Father proud. And so he was telling a story about a man that said he was agnostic, which means that, he just doesn't believe anything. He just doesn't know. And he was telling the story, and so the agnostic man dies, and he's going to, Satan's on one side, Jesus is on the other. And Satan just looks like a regular individual. He just kind of felt a little darkness because because that's how the enemy is. It's not like you see some big old demon or whatever. No, sometimes he's, preacher, one of us or whatever, so, but he just sensed a little darkness. And he said, all right, come with me. And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I didn't choose. I'm on the fence. And the enemy said, I own the fence. So, just wanted to leave you with that. Thank you very much.